This is a Sportsline Podcast. I'm Bubba O'Neill. As we love to do, athletes, coaches, officials, and executives from the Southern Ontario area and the Golden Horseshoe will be shining bright on the Sportsline Podcast, and it appears that you do like it that way. Like any legitimate newscast or podcast, it is very important to give equal time to opposing parties, regardless of the story or content. So, with Ryan Harrison of the Welland Jackfish having a platform recently, it's only fair that we focus on the Intercounty Baseball franchise that has called Hamilton home for 66 years. Since taking ownership of the Cards in 2022, Eric Spearin and a number of outstanding Hamilton businessmen took the team in a new direction. 1 year later, the group were named IBL Executives of the Year. And according to Spearin, we're going to make enough noise that people can't ignore us anymore. We couldn't ignore you any longer here on the Sportsline Podcast. Eric, so great to have you come in here and share your story and talk about the success of the Cards.
Yeah, thanks for having me today, Bubba.
Well, I got to ask you here. I know I look at your background, and your background is like completely nothing to do with baseball, more of a computer-like background. Was that fair to say?
Yeah, logistics and supply chain is like my corporate background, kind of the boring stuff. But I've always been a big sports fan. I played sports growing up, played a lot of football actually. Never really dabbled in baseball, but the allure of the IBL and all the excitement with the league really drew me in, and what the potential could be here in Hamilton.
So, just talking about the software stuff, like what's that all about?
Yeah, so basically, I studied logistics and supply chain, so freight transportation for companies, so commercial transportation. After working in my industry for a few years after I graduated university, I founded my own software company. It ended up getting acquired and ended up moving. My wife and I, we moved to Los Angeles, California, which is where my company is based today. It's now known as TransService Integrated Solutions. So, yeah, that's my day job. I'm the president of the company. We've scaled up over the years. We were on the Inc. 5000 list as one of the fastest growing companies in America. We've expanded into 7 different countries now. So I've since obviously moved back to Hamilton. I'm a proud Hamiltonian, but yeah, most of my work has been done in the States.
What's that like to create something that's this small that gets to this big?
Yeah, I think you learn a lot, and you really come at it with a practical approach. You know, the software literally started from like a blinking cursor, like that first cursor, and then I booked, the first revenue for the company in the basement of my in-laws' house in Toronto while I was waiting for my U.S. work visa. So, it's been a bit of a ride.
I always think of the movie Blackberry, which I don't know if you saw, and the fact that there was this kind of like what you're talking about, small, tiny software company, and this company gets giant, worldwide recognized, but things went wrong. But you've steered things in the right direction. What lessons have you kind of learned?
Yeah, I think, people are very critical parts of the business, and, just cultivating and, being able to elevate certain folks and, to help really grow the business. I think, people are a huge part of it.
Looking at your list of things that you kind of told me, and we have these things called fun facts that come up, and there's one thing that really attracted me that made me laugh. Can you tell the people what your first job was?
Yeah, mascot at African Lion Safari. I think they were one of the few employers in this area that would hire somebody when they were like 14 years old. So yeah, that was my first job.
What was you like? Were you a monkey? Were you a giraffe? What were you?
I split time between the parrot and the lion. And I feel with the Cardinals, like I've come full circle, right? Because now we have our mascot, Bernie, our bird. So being around like a mascot again.
Unlike Ryan Harrison, you do not get in the mascot character, or do you?
Well, I did the first time when it arrived to my house. I had to try it on, right? But no, not on game days.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to help out in other areas of the ballpark. Yeah, we have great entertainers that can go in that suit.
That's spectacular. So, okay, let's talk about the Intercounty Baseball League. Again, proud Hamiltonian, you've got a business going. Things are really humming for you personally, family-wise. Where does the IBL come in for you?
Yeah, it all started in this studio, Bubba.
Huh?
Yeah, right at the studio, right on the desk across from us. I saw a segment in July 2022 where I think Nicole Martin was on the desk, said, the Brantford Red Sox are facing a grim future. That was the story. It was about the Brantford team in the IBL. They had a break-in at the stadium, and they were, making a comment like they were struggling with revenue. And that story, it kind of stuck in my head all week. And I thought, I remember the IBL growing up, but it was definitely off my radar. I had moved back to Canada in 2017, so from that period, 2017 to 2022, wasn't really up to speed, didn't hear a lot about it. But growing up in Dundas, I remember the Cardinals. They were kind of always in the background. So I had some familiarity with the league. So I reached out to Brantford and reached out to the owners and said, hey, I saw the story on CHCH. I'm an entrepreneur by heart, so sometimes when I see grim future, I'm positive. I try to see, hey, there's greener grass on the other side. So I reached out to them and expressed my interest to say, hey, are you interested in exploring a deal? Are you interested in selling the team? I actually drove down there, caught a game. And as soon as I walked through the gates, I was impressed with the infrastructure, and the concessions were there. There was a ticket booth, a box office, the merchandise stand, and then the baseball was great. So I kind of saw the bones of what a game day operation looked like in the league. And I spoke with the Brantford ownership, and there wasn't much of an interest to sell majority. And I was kind of saying to myself in my head, what am I doing? Born and raised in Hamilton, I'm a proud Hamiltonian. I want to really, try to do something more so in Hamilton than Brantford. And I did want to get a little bit more involved in the community.
And you were ready to be financially involved too.
Yeah. Okay. And then at this point in my career, I wanted to be, a majority owner, and, had the last say on everything. And so there wasn't, I had very loose conversations with Brantford, and I didn't know if they thought maybe I was, entirely serious. So I turned around and I called Dennis Concordia and Carmen's group, who previously owned the Cardinals outright. And I think my timing was perfect, because I had called Dennis, who was the president at the time, right on, I think, the Monday after a weekend where there was a bit of a locker room mutiny. They had just fired the manager, one of the players that got traded. So it was kind of right place, right time. And I called Dennis. I said, hey, Dennis, I introduced myself and told him, I said, I'm trying to, I'm looking at the Brantford franchise, but I thought, I should try to call Hamilton, just see what your story is. And little did I know they were looking for somebody to kind of take the bull by the horn, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And they were running it as a not-for-profit. And, they were definitely open to ideas. And Dennis said, don't do anything with Brantford. I think we can figure out a way, to make this work. So, I, again, was kind of trying to do my due diligence, and I went to a Cardinals game after that. And that was actually the first game I had ever been to. Mm-hmm. Was mid-July 2022. I went to a game, and Cable 14 was actually there. It was the one game they were broadcasting. And again, I was impressed, hey, there's box office Cardinals logo painted outside, mm-hmm. And the baseball was fantastic. But again, I saw the bones, but it wasn't what Welland was doing or some of the other teams. So I then took a drive down to Welland, and I grabbed two buddies who grew up with me here in Hamilton, and I said, I'm thinking about getting a team in this league. And sometimes I do, surprise these guys with some grand ideas. I said, let's drive down to Welland, because what I'm seeing on social media is unbelievable. I'm all the teams should be following their lead. And we drove down and took in a Welland game, and we kind of went in a little bit blind, right? Because I had only researched the league for a couple of weeks at this point, and we were just blown away. They, especially my friends, because they were this is right here in our backyards, this type of atmosphere, this type of baseball. Of course we drove, the 40 minutes down the road, but I said, yeah, but imagine if we did this here in Hamilton. like this has the potential. We're a bigger market. We're a little bit more centralized. Like there's a lot of, competitive advantage, to be like that in Hamilton. So we were just blown away by that well in operation. And I remember even Ryan was. So
did they even know who you were, or you were totally incognito?
Yeah,
here?
I was incognito. And throughout that season, and we kind of, we didn't close on the sale of the team until after the season. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to create distraction, but we kind of had a handshake deal already. So I was attending games throughout the 2022 season, and watching the Cardinals, and kind of like, again, just kind of in the shadows a little bit watching.
That's spectacular. So it all starts with you watching. First of all, thank you for watching CHCH News. We appreciate that, right? And it spurned on that interest. You get a little curious, and things didn't work out. Thank goodness for Hamilton that it didn't work out in Brantford, and thank goodness that it worked out here in Hamilton for you. This is an incredible story, in my opinion. This is the way I think it should be. It's almost poetic in itself, in the way that you actually got involved. Hamiltonian guy sees this. This team's maybe struggling a little bit. As you said, the timing was perfect. I guess this is one of those things in business where it was really meant to be.
Yeah, it really was. Just kind of like the stars aligned, and I can't stress enough how big of a sports fan I am and how passionate I am about sports. Mm-hmm. And who wouldn't want to own a baseball team, first and foremost. But yeah, I just thought, we could really make this work here in Hamilton. I had a lot of, I won't say naysayers. I mean, we kind of talked a little bit before, but other people have tried this here. And for whatever reason, it wasn't working. I remember even one of my first interviews was with Scott Radley, and I was kind of really pressed early on about, why is it going to be different this time? And I didn't really know what the answer was going to be. Mm-hmm. I just felt like, if we went at it with a practical approach, modern marketing, that we can make a run at it. Well,
and I think maybe the lack of success with people showing up and really grabbing, and I'll share the conversation, and I kind of alluded to this earlier with the Welland folks, is that when they were the Hamilton Thunder, they went from the Cardinals, which was the long-standing name, and then they changed to the Thunderbird. And I don't know if there was kickback from the community or not. It just didn't seem to grab on to, I guess, the attraction of people to go up to the mountain. Bernie Arbor Stadium, they had fixed it up a little bit. It was, again, you show up there, it's a great place to watch a ball game for sure. But for some reason, people weren't attracted to it. We're giving scores on CH and trying to give it as much love. I know, obviously, the Spectator for sure were trying to do whatever they could, and it just didn't grab on with the folks. But the strange thing to me is that I'm thinking to myself, is it because of the wins and losses? Because the Cardinals, for a long time, weren't a winning franchise. We're barely even getting to the playoffs sometimes, and now that's all changed.
Yeah, I think definitely that has an effect. 1978, the only championship for the Hamilton Cardinals, the only one, right? And people talk about the Tiger Cats, 1998. I'm here saying 1978. At some point, that's got to have an effect on the fan base. The team hasn't been relevant, for a long time. I think actually, I looked it up. We have one of the lowest winning percentages, if not the lowest, in the history of the
66 years.
Yeah. So it's part of that was the allure, though. Was to do that turnaround and to have a blank canvas, so to speak. And I went back and really researched the history of baseball in Hamilton, and there's actually a rich history. The Hamilton Cardinals name actually originates from the Pony League team that was here, which was an affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals in the 30s, I believe the 30s and the 40s. And then our club, the IBL club, was founded in 1958 under a different name. I believe it was the Hamilton Beavers that we started as, and when the team went through a number of different name changes and then finally settled on the Hamilton Cardinals. I don't know if that was to pay respect to the Pony League team, or if it had anything to do with minor baseball. Like, there's also a second Hamilton Cardinals in the city, which is the youth organization, which we're separate entities of. But that name means a lot to Hamilton. And then also in 88 to 92, there was another St. Louis Cardinals single A affiliate here, the Hamilton Redbirds.
Redbirds, yes.
Yeah. So as I was kind of going through the whole history, I was like, Hamilton has had some support over the years. It's just been a little bit rocky. And I was even going through, archives with the Hamilton Spectator. And I saw that when the Redbirds were here, they were getting in some games, over 3,000 at Bernie Arbor. So I was saying to myself, there's a market here. We just got to tap into it. We got to win. We got to focus in on the marketing. But that's just a little bit of history of Hamilton baseball.
That's spectacular. And it's great that you did that kind of research too. That kind of knowledge of the club just shows how passionate you are about the franchise and why you got involved. If I could ask, it was a Carmen's group, right? The Mercantis that you've joined into in terms of the ownership.
Yeah. So right? I ended up acquiring majority, but still kept Carmen's group, within the ownership group in a minority position. They're super important to the city. And they're very excited about the changes that I was going to make. So they want to be a part of it.
If I could ask, and I know some people don't like this question, but I have to ask you, because you're a young guy, how old were you when you did this?
Like acquire the team?
Yeah.
Well, I turned 36 this year.
You're a young guy.
Yeah, so I guess I was 34, I had just turned 34.
You were crazy?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think in some regards, like it is pretty complicated to run the team, because there's different avenues that we have. I don't want to get too boring and corporate, but it's like they're all almost little individual business units. You have your concessions, your sponsorship, the box office and the tickets and the game day entertainment side, then the baseball ops. So yeah, it was a big undertaking.
Good for you. I gotta throw this out here because now we've talking about what you've done. You've done the research on the team. You come in there, you make some immediate changes. You're like, I'm going to make this my own. What did you need to do to the franchise to, quote, make it cool?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I wanted to rebrand the team. I want to keep the Cardinals name because of the history, but the logo, it had to go, right? We were using basically the St. Louis Cardinals logo. So I wanted like a very distinct Hamilton brand. And I actually, I think I hired the designer for that logo before I even closed on the deal, ink on the paper. I had already hired Matt Doyle, who's in Burlington. He's a great designer, and he came up with the logo, which as soon as we saw it, we were floored, which is, obviously on my cap.
Right? Yeah, cap. It's great.
Yeah,
Cardinal.
with the bat, stylized as a hammer with the bat weight, like we're just blown away. But I was like, we need to be a little bit more black and red, a little bit more less St. Louis, more Hamilton. So that was like priority number one. Was like, okay, we got to rebrand, and then with that comes all new merchandise, painting of the stadium. So yeah, that first off season, that was a huge undertaking.
Well, clearly what you did was working because it's a cool looking bird. The actual, it's just on a ticket here. I don't know if Chantel can shoot this here. You can see the bird and everything. Like, this is a cool looking ticket, by the way. And merchandise is so important in sports. It's a reality. It's almost, in some cases, as we're seeing with some franchises in some bigger leagues, wins and losses don't even matter all of a sudden. It's about cool clothes and cool hats and cool pants and colors. And now teams are doing, we're seeing the Blue Jays have a new uniform that's coming up as well too. It's so important now, the merchandising.
Yeah, for sure. And we've started to add, we debuted, 3 new jerseys last year, a white, a black alternate that says the Hammer, and then a gray road. And now I've added a red V-neck, which we're actually debuting this Saturday night. And we're gonna add a baby blue jersey for Father's Day. So yeah, we're trying to add in even more jerseys. There's a lot you can do with the brand, and just make people proud of Hamilton. Wear the colors, to represent the city.
Well, and to make it even better for a success story, last year you had a real good year on the field.
Yeah, I mean, we finished with 19 wins. We were a little bit under 500, but it was still a turnaround for where we've been. I think the franchise record for wins is only 21 games, if I'm not mistaken. So we were at 19, so we almost hit that, almost hit that record. But I think this year, we're going to try to take the next step forward.
Off to a good start at 3-2 right now. It's a positive start. It is, we said 40-something games.
42 games,
right?
Yeah.
So you're off to a good start.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about in terms of the talent that's out there? And that's a neat part too that Ryan explained to me for the first time, really, because I never really grasped it. The ability of getting players and bringing them here to Hamilton, and some of them are some high quality players.
Yeah. So one of the first moves I made was to bring in a general manager. So I made a change there. That was probably like after the logo. My first change was to put a breath of fresh air on the baseball ops side. So I hired George Halim. And George, he's a few years younger than me, but in my opinion, he is the most well-connected person in Canadian baseball. He is the director of Prep Baseball Report, which is basically the largest scouting agency for high school kids that are looking to go to the States and get a scholarship. He's also a Detroit Tiger scout. So I tasked George with, hey, we gotta, first of all, we want to turn around the culture in the clubhouse. The team hasn't been that successful on the field. We want to create a winning culture. So personality was going to be huge for us, for all the players that we were bringing in. And then George was going to cast that wide net of players to bring in. And as Ryan described, these are guys that are coming in from all across Canada, also all across the globe. We have 2 players here this summer from Japan, and it's their first time. It's their first time, in Canada, and they're here all summer, just to play for the Cardinals. Our catcher comes up from the Dominican Republic. We have a player from the U.S. as well. But yeah, these guys are, extremely talented. I think again, I go back to like what really drew me was the product on the field, was how good the baseball is. It is very much semi-professional baseball.
What about the crowds now? I mean, and I should throw this in here, and it was up on your card, on your sort of resume card. I mean, you're kind of rewarded 1 year in with IBL Executive of the Year. Like, that's got to be a good feeling, the fact that the turnaround is, and the things that you are putting into the club, it's working.
Yeah, it was a little bit validating. It's always nice to be recognized. Sure. Obviously, I think going into my first full season, I was, and this goes, throughout the league and the other owners, are trying to describe what we're going to be, and describe that also to the players, but the sponsors, but we hadn't accomplished anything yet, right? So I had a lot of people that, took me on my word. And so I was happy that, they were able to kind of see by the end of the season, okay, this is what Hamilton Cardinals baseball is going to be. So from that standpoint, this year going forward, people, okay, the expectations have been set.
And let's get back to on the broad spectrum here, the league. And this is what's amazing to me, and I think it's so fun, and the conversations I'm hearing with other people and baseball fans too, is that, again, I said it off the top, the IBL's cool. Look, you get a big smile on your face on that too, because it's not just your franchise. Everyone seems to be succeeding in some ways. I mean, it was just a grand master plan that you guys came together in your IBL off-season meetings or whatever, but it's grabbing onto these communities.
Yeah, and I think, we talk about Welland's success. I mean, Ryan's definitely the trailblazer on that, and bringing, as he said on the podcast, right, like bringing that U.S. marketing to Canada. I think the other, and I've told this to Ryan too, is, there's a lot of junior hockey teams out there. In regards to baseball leagues, we're really in Southern Ontario. Certainly there's the Western Canadian Baseball League, which is a collegiate summer league, and then there's the Frontier League, which there's a handful of teams in Canada, but there's not a lot of competition for us aside from the Blue Jays and the Buffalo Bisons, right? So I think that's really attractive to me, and we're the league is definitely, as Ryan said too, is that it's skewing a little bit more on the professional side. It gets a little bit more complicated, to implement that officially, but it's definitely, that's the way that we view it.
What about the response from the fans? What are you hearing from them?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I have fans calling me and say, hey, I heard Hamilton got a baseball team. So I do get, and I said, no, we're actually the second oldest sports team in the city. Yeah, the fan response has been great. It's and getting out the kids. I think a big mandate for us is we want to be the ambassadors of baseball in all of Hamilton. So what that means is working with all the different, baseball associations or softball associations. It could be house league, it could be a rep, but we want them out at our games. If there's anything that we can do to help them, we're certainly able to do that. We also have a kids camp in the summer that we put on for 3 weeks out of Bernie Arbor Stadium. So yeah, just trying to be a leader for baseball in the city. And the fans have really embraced what we're doing. We've really doubled down on having a home game every Friday night. So we're trying to make it, simple for people that, every Friday night without fail in the summer, we have a home game. So yeah, we're just becoming more memorable.
And more games on TV too, which is a huge help.
Yeah, so all of our home games are on Cable 14. I think the biggest thing is, I don't think people understand, we play a lot of games. This baseball, we play a lot of games, but we actually play more games than the Tiger Cats and the Forge FC combined here in Hamilton for home games. And Cable 14's broadcasting those out of Bernie Arbor Stadium, which was built in 1971. So that was a huge undertaking. And kudos to Jonathan Friedman, the general manager at Cable 14. He, again, the same thing. I went to him, told him what it could be, and I think there was maybe some hesitation that, hey, we've broadcast Cardinals games in the past. I said, oh no, I promise it will be different. And they picked up every single home game last year. Now this year they're actually bringing out the TV truck every single Friday night, so we have that really grand production. And then they've also picked up some road games too.
Wow.
So yeah, we have a lot of games on Cable 14, but you can also stream them for free, cable14now.com. So again, we try to make ourselves pretty accessible.
I like that, and people would think, oh, CHCH, Cable 14 competitors. No, in my opinion, one community, we all work together, and that's why you're here, to try and build up Hamilton sports, Hamilton, proper, for many other reasons, and I think we can all do that together, whether it's a Spectator, Cable 14, or CHCH. So congratulations for them. I'm glad to hear that they're doing that. That's a big thing for you guys as well. Where do we go from here now? I mean, because I will say this, and maybe you don't have to comment, because I know maybe you probably know some people. It is getting tough for families right now. We're in a tough society right now. Let's admit it, right? People are going to food banks, and it's a tough time for people out there. And entertainment dollars are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Going to professional sports, Blue Jays, Maple Leafs, Raptors, going downtown Toronto, it's becoming almost an impossibility for you guys. And that's a market that opens up for you guys, is it not?
Yeah, I think so. I know, for myself, it's a chore to go into Toronto, go to a Blue Jays game. It's an all-day event. I think for us, we try to be extremely affordable. We're $12 for general admission. Kids 10 and under are free. So that helps, it's a little bit more affordable. We also partnered with over 45 charities last year. We did a food drive last year as well, and we try to get those charities out, and we want to use our platform, to help promote those that are in need. So that's a big thing too for us is, how can we use our platform within the community too?
I think that's wonderful, because and there is a certain give back that people certainly do recognize, but more to the going to the event. I can think of, Bull Durham we'll think of, right? Like a classic baseball movie, Major League, so many of them. And when I think baseball, I don't think of professional baseball. I think of movies like that, and I don't know why that's instilled in my head. And I think about going to Bernie Arbor Stadium, and I think of, plopping on my seat, enjoying a hot dog and a beverage, and there's that atmosphere, that community atmosphere. And you guys seem to be capturing that, and I think that's important, because I think there's this romantic feeling about baseball, is there not, compared to many other sports?
Yeah, there is. I mean, it's a slower paced game. You know, you're spread out. You can walk throughout the concourse, kind of take your time leisurely. I think for us too is, again, we're more accessible than an MLB game. You can wander down to the bullpen, talk to our guys, our pitchers down there. We pause the game in the third inning for all the kids to run the bases. You're right close to the action. You know, you can meet the players. It's just, there's nothing, to me, what else beats, the smell of the hot dogs, the summer, and it's right here in Hamilton, right? So it's, I think it was Moneyball, right? That says, how can you not be romantic about baseball?
And your players don't mind giving back to, right? That helps.
Yeah, they love, meeting the fans. They also do, they do a lot of stuff in the community too, going out to banquets and charity events and, just giving up their time to, give back to the city. And some of these guys are not from here, right? And we've had a couple players, have relocated themselves in the off season here and started to embrace the city, which I love to see, because I love Hamilton so much that I'd love to see when other people start embracing it too.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say congratulations to you. I think you got the right idea. I think the community's certainly catching on. We're in a segment right now, even with sort of more minor league sports, I would say, or maybe I shouldn't say North American professional sports, where we have more and more franchises. So the competition is certainly out there. You guys have certainly dug yourself your little niche there, and congratulations for capturing that, building upon that, and continuing to nurse it, right? Because if you don't give it attention, it could just fall right back to where it was at one point. But you're certainly driven it. I can sense it, and into making this something that lasts for a long, long time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it really starts with like the look and the feel. As soon as you walk through the gates, like everything in the concourse that you see should have that professional feel. The way the merchandise stand looks, the way the concessions are, the way they taste, and also the game day entertainment, right? Emily Thompson, our game day host.
How could we forget? Yes.
Yeah, and baseball is, as you're seeing with the Savannah Bananas, like, again, we talk, baseball's slow, and baseball's like tailor-made for in-game entertainment between innings, and with that, like, Emily is the best person that we could ever have in that position.
She does, like, it doesn't matter for her, right? Like, some people will say, well, how could you get enough, stones to do what she does? But she doesn't care. She loves to see people smile at your games.
Yeah, she can have a conversation with anybody. She's so entertaining. She can dance, she can sing, she gets the, kids on the field. She just brings a smile to everybody's face. And we're just so happy to have her on board. And I don't think people also see, like, behind the scenes, like how much work that takes, for Emily. She came in again last year. She took me on my word on what it was going to be. And, kudos to her, for embracing that direction, but all the hard work that she had to put in, to now do baseball, because we haven't, seen that type of entertainment around here before. So, she's got to learn a new sport and how we're going to present that.
Yeah, because she was more of a football person.
Yeah. I mean,
she changed.
Yeah. Well, she's a football, basketball. She's done with the Honey Badgers. So she knows how to adapt. And, there's a script, that goes into every game. And Joey Ransom, who's on our game day ops side, he puts together, the entertainment side. And he had worked with Emily at the Honey Badgers. So to me, it was like, okay, like here's a great duo that I can, bring in, and they adapted and learned, what we could do with baseball.
Eric, you're hitting a home run. You're doing a good job.
I appreciate that.
Well, we certainly thank you for coming in and doing Hamilton proud, because the IBL franchise, like I said, 66 years, some up and down years, and certainly you guys are on the incline and people are grabbing into the games. The team, hopefully, let's get you into the playoffs, where, as we saw last year, once you get into the postseason, anything can happen.
Exactly.
And we certainly look forward to charting your progress throughout the rest of the 2024. Hope you come back in.
Yeah, anytime, Bubba.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
All right, folks, that's your Sportsline podcast for the day. And as you've just seen and heard, we love talking sports, especially entrepreneurs that bring sports to Hamilton. We love it. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote, the Sportsline podcast want to hear from you. Please hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe button. And if you do have a suggestion, please let us know in that comment section. Fill it out, folks. For the hardworking crew that make the Sportsline podcast possible, thank you so very much. And we'll see you tomorrow.